ECC is named to the Criminal Resources Corporation.
Okay, the Criminal Corporation. But in the actual situations that you have, if you make an inspection, the one operating is the Philippine Gold Refining and Processing Corporation. So, if it will happen that this is a disastrous event, who is to be blamed? The Philippine or the Philippine Gold Refining Corporation? You answer my question.
The Environmental Management Bureau will run to the ECC holders. The ECC holder.
The MRC.
Yes, Criminal Resources Corporation. Because PGPRC is considered as part of the company, but the holder is Criminal Resources Corporation.
Would you agree that this is a separate company? That the Philippine goes on extractions of ore and the Philippine Gold Refining Company is for the processing? Am I correct to say that?
Yes.
That they have a separate entity?
They have the separate role, but the mother company is the Criminal Resources Corporation.
So, in that matter, Regional Director, I think this is the only company so far with our country that they not approve or endorse for the approval of the mining operations will in fact that the tailing span is within a stone throw to one of the impact barangay named Barangay Paniki. Am I correct to say that? Because you have made an inspection for several times.
The companies paid usually close to the community, especially.
That's why I told you. Do they have other mining company approved by the DNR that the tailing span is just only a stone throw or meters radius away from the Popolis? They think ito lang. Saka. And I would like to follow up my questions, Executive Director of Mines and Geoscience. Is there not a gross violation of the Philippine law despite that there is a resolution that effect promulgated by no less than the municipality of Araroy, in the former Mayor Papinig, more or less in 2011, I can still recall, and affirmed by Sangguniang Panlalawigan for no expansion of operations and open pit. Do you inspect the area of Perminera right now? You made an inspection. The operation of extractions is already in Bamon. Am I correct to say that?
The last inspection, Your Honor, was in, I think, February of 2016.
It is in Bamon.
Yes. That is because of the expansion of the MPSA going to
So how could we expand when there's a resolution dahil nakasaad ito under the ECC? One of the provisions na talagay doon, the permittee as far as requirement should undergo to all concerned agency. Ibig sabihin, pag ayaw ng munisipyo, in-affirm ng gobernador ng Sangguniang Panlalawigan, hindi continue the operation. Or else, we will charge the mayor together with the Sangguniang Bayan in violation thereof. Because it was already affirmed. And anything happened, he will be charged multiple murder, administrative and criminal liability. Am I correct to say that?
The expansion, Your Honor, was approved, I think, November 2019, so last year.
So is there a need of another ECC for expansion despite that is only meters radius away from Bamon?
I think
Maawa ng isang hospital niyo.
the ECC was also amended, I think, on the same year, 2019.
Amended of what?
Sir, for the record, Minera has already...
ECC for what? You should be specific. ECC for panicate and expand or what?
Sir, the TSF is already included in the ECC. So the latest ECC was issued December 18, 2019 for the Masbate Gold Project under Minera Resources Corporation, and that covers the processing, the mining, and the expansion of Montana Peak.
So therefore, the 400 hectares given by the ECC approved by the DNR. And the approved only is 270. Ibig sabihin, we have a geotechnical study. Am I correct to say that? Even though I'm not a mining engineer by profession. Geotechnical study in order that we will not exceed the limit of 270,000 because that is incorporated in the ECC.
The geotechnical study, Your Honor, is really very important. That is why in the MRFC meeting last year, we have required the investigation again of the third party of the new design up to RL 71.
That is as far as design is concerned.
Second item, I would just like to ask Minera to hire a third party.
That is correct. That is the one. Pending.
Kasi yung operation, we understand the operation of the government. So, you have to hire a third party assessor, validator. Yung increasing ba ng dam, and then yung contract, should kung pwede, si governor, kung ano yung mga gusto niyang isama doon sa validation. So that, i-manage yung ano. So, when can we do that? I'm asking the Vice President of Minera. Kailan ba yun, sir?
Vice President?
Dito, we should already decide here. Kasi kaya nga nandito kami. So, kailan ba tayo pwedeng mag-hire ng third-party validator para matapos yung mga doubts, yung apprehensions about the technical, yung safety. Kasi yun ang pinag-uusapan natin dito. Okay?
Good morning po, and the regional directors as well as the SB members. Now, we understand the urgency of the concern as far as geotechnical study. We will commit to undertake that geotechnical study. Ang lang po namin, ang challenge po namin ngayon po, Red, is that paano kami makapagpuan ng mga technical, mga specialists coming from normally sa Metro Manila. Ang travel restrictions kasi medyo may challenge. Kaya
Ikaw po answer na.
Considering the urgency needs of technical expertise as far as the respect our telling span. Walang problema. Para tingin mo rito, kami ang bahala. We will consider them as an apport. Walang problema. Because this involves lives.
Oh, yeah.
Kaya I salute.
Pero urgent matter yan.
Because this is an urgent matter. That is the solutions to this problem. We will request a technical expertise in possible parallel. The provincial government will also provide parallel to the Minera.
Baka may representative sila, while yung third party validator nagkakandak ng assessment. Kung pwede may representative yung
Ay, pwede nga ako ang mag-representative dito.
so that they can understand yung ginagawa. And then yung representative ng LGU will explain to the governor ano yung proceedings. Para walang everybody understand what's going on. Okay?
The suggestions of the executive directors will taken. And we accept that. Yan lang ang ultimate solution. But pending inspections of our technical group, dapat i-stop muna ng operations natin. If baka in the course of operations may mamatay, who will hold liable to this? Will the mayors can sustain that he will be responsible and will open its operation? Will the governor also? This will endanger the lives of 40,000. Daliin lang natin ang para wala nang sisiyan ng director. Daliin natin, kuha kami, kuha sila, o sabay-sabay tayo, together with
Sir, ganito po ang proposal na we'll let the investigators, yung assessors, present the findings. And then, yung technical group ng DNR with MGB will confer about it. We'll consult you about yung result ng usapan namin. And then we'll consult also yung technical group ng MGB. Now, kung ano ho yung maging decision ng DNR, we'll inform you. But be sure na I would like to ensure na talagang yung safety po ang unang, yung primordial concern natin is the safety ng Masbate.
because
Makakasa po kayo, sir.
I understand, President Director, that the sole authority as far as the issues of permit to any government operations is the DNR. But we have other obligations.
Yes.
The power obligations is in order to protect the rights and property, not only rights and property, not only lives of my constituents also. So therefore, we will impose the general welfare clause under the new local government code, section 16. Thank you, Your Honor.
So, can we now ask the inspecting team to present their initial findings so that we can make a thorough discussion on how we are going to resolve this issue once and for all before we depart?
Your Honors, let me introduce to you the presenter of the report. He is also the team leader of the one who conducted the investigation at the Subcommittee Located Source Facility. He is our supervising geologist, Martin Germanis.
Good morning, Honorable Governor po, Congresswoman, the Provincial Administrator of Manila, our RED, our RD, from the DNR, and of course the SQ members and everyone present here in this gathering. Again, let me introduce myself. I am Martin Germanis, and I was the designated team leader for the inspection team sent by the DNR 5 to look into the status of the tailing storage facility, which is part of the Masbate Gold Project site in Masbate. Now, just a brief background regarding the recent earthquake event. It happened last August 18, 2020, with a magnitude of 6.6, and based on the reports of people, the earthquake's epicenter is located somewhere 7 kilometers southeast of the municipality of Catayan, at a depth of 21 kilometers. And based on the people's earthquake intensity scale, the province of Masbate was affected by varying earthquake intensities ranging from 4 to 7. And the municipalities that are considered to be hardest hit include the municipality of Katangan as well as the municipality of B.A.B. Rose. In fact, we've just been there a few days ago, and we also witnessed some of the ground manifestations that were the result of the recent earthquake. Now, in the case of Roy, there is reported intensified. Now, for the DNR actions and response, there was a special order issued by our regional executive director, which is numbered as 2020-269 and was issued on August 19, 2019. The objective of which is to create an inspection team that is tasked to further assess the effects of the August 18, 2020 earthquake, given that a preliminary inspection was already conducted by our embedded personnel in the person of Engineer John Luis Nam. Engineer Nam conducted the rapid assessment, I think on the same day, and furnished.
Immediately after the
Yes, sir.
earthquake.
Opo.
Because we have instructed him to do so.
Yes, sir. And he furnished a copy of his report the next day, as well as the report from the geotechnical team from Philminera was also submitted to MGB and DNR. In relation to that, our regional director, Guillermo Molina, also issued a letter to FRC advising the company to temporarily cease operations while the site inspection activities are being undertaken. I think this was already mentioned by our Honorable Governor. And just for the information of everyone, we could see a copy of the special order issued by our RED that tasked the inspection team to conduct the assessment of the TSM relative to the recent earthquake. Now, for our observations,
With representatives from,
sir.
with representatives from the provincial LGUs.
Yes, sir.
Ay, kasama kayo.
Yes, sir. Actually, the assessment was a joint inspection, and we were joined by members from the provincial government of Masbate as well as members from the municipal government of Oromo. Now, for our field observations, here are some of these. And the downstream phase and upstream phase of the saddles, dams 1 and 2, in general, we did not observe any ground cracks and other signs of settlement. And other observations are the gradient of the embankment slopes, both on the downstream and upstream phase of the dam. These are photos taken in saddle dams 1 and 2 in the downstream side. And this is another photo showing closer view of the materials that comprise the downstream side of the dam. For the Saddle Dam 7, I think based on the presentation of Ryan Rusk, he showed us the overview of the whole TSM facility, and these are actually parts of that. But later on, I will also be showing a map showing the different pictures that are included in the slide presentation. If I may be allowed to proceed, this is a picture showing the Saddle Dam 7. Another photo taken on the other side, opposite direction. For the main dam, which I think is the main concern, the same observations were made. There were no ground cracks and other signs of settlement. And some observations were made as to the gradient of the embankment slopes. Here's another picture showing the downstream phase of the main dam. And also another one. This is a photo showing the measurement that we did using a frontal compass, plyometer actually. And for the Saddle Dam 4, we have similar observations. This is a picture showing the downstream phase of the Saddle Dam 4. Another closer look. For the Saddle Dam 8, again, there were no observed ground cracks and other signs of settlement. And these are the pictures taken there. This shows the upstream side or upstream phase of the Saddle Dam. And for the RL71 perimeter road, I think based on the presentation of Ryan Rusk, he named this as catchment drain, because this is actually the site where they have made the channel diversion. Again, no observed ground cracks and other signs of settlement. And this is a picture taken on the RL 71. This is actually the creek. And this is a picture showing the upstream face of the RL 71. Now for the findings and conclusions, there were no apparent damage brought by the August 18, 2020 earthquake as observed in the PSF dams, particularly along the dam crest, the downstream embankments, as well as the upstream embankments. For the other vital infrastructures, because I think this is included in the special order issued by our regional executive director, the assessment reports from the FRC Geotech team and emergency response team serve as the basis for this report, because the team, due to time constraint, issues of personal safety, and lack of technical personnel with that level of expertise required to assess the vital infrastructures are some of the challenges that were faced by the joint inspection team. Embankment slopes on the downstream face of the dams range from 25 to 38 degrees approximately. Again, the method used was using the compass, while the dam embankment slopes on the upstream face range from approximately 30 to 42 degrees. Now, based on the reviews made for the documents submitted by FRC, the design gradient for the upstream face is around 27 degrees. I think this follows the 1:1.5 ratio, while for the downstream face, the declared design should be within the 22 degrees mark. As mentioned earlier, there were some loose rock bubbles and boulders observed on the face of saddle dams 1 and 2. As to the mechanism for emplacement, that is something that we cannot determine at the time of the inspection. Several early warning devices are also installed in the different locations within the TSF site. The locations are specified in the TSF design and are calibrated according to standards followed by FRC and its contractors. Again, this is a result of the review made on the documents submitted by the FRC to the inspection team. And these EWDs come in the form of survey markers and standpipe piezometers. The survey markers themselves are indicators of possible ground movement, but the piezometers tell about the pore water pressure that exists in the subsurface portion of the dam. So, meaning these are devices that monitor physical changes and magnitude movements within the TSF and for potential structural instability. Now, as to the number of these early warning devices, we have a total of 14 for standpipe piezo and 12 for the survey markers. This is a map. I think there is a problem with viewing the map, but if viewed from the laptop, you can easily tell the pictures that are included. Maybe it's because of the light. But from the map, this is actually the topographic map of the TSF site and the surrounding areas. The topographic information were taken from the shape files submitted by FRC. We also have our own file showing the contour map. But in this case, this is the TSF. We have the eastern portion of the TSF here. This is the main dam. We have the saddle dam 4 here, 7, 8, RL 71. This is 7, this is 1 and 2. And we also located the positions of the early warning devices. Now for the findings and conclusions, the water level of the TSF is inferred at a level less than 52 meters above sea level, as indicated by the maintained 7-meter freeboard reported by FRC during the time of the inspection. Most of the western side of the TSF is largely covered with fine-grained tailings, which are basically beach materials, and were observed to be dry for the whole duration of the inspection. This is located at the western side of the TSF. But on the other hand, the eastern side was mostly submerged in water. Now the total area of the TSF is approximately 253 hectares as calculated using ArcGIS software and with the use of the most recent Google Earth imagery for the site, 2020 Google Earth image. The approximate area is very close to 256 hectares total TSF as declared by FRC during the time of inspection. Now, I would like to inform everyone here that this is a conservative estimate of the TSF area. The delineation of the boundaries of the TSF was made following the downstress, not including the downstream base. Now, if we are to include that, of course, we would expect that we will have a larger area. This is a map showing the Google Earth image of the area and the derived drainage network for the area, as well as the different early warning devices, the roads, and the buildings that represent the resources at risk to potential dam collapse or break. Now from here, I think we identified around 200, and these buildings are actually of mixed use. Some are for residential purposes and some are not. So again, this is for the buildings that were mapped within the vicinity of the TSF. And considering the condition of the diverted channel made at the margins of RL 71 during the site inspection, it is inferred that runoff may overflow to the road pavement, meaning it will cross the road and flow towards the TSF, which is something that FRC wouldn't want to happen. Because that's the very reason, I think, that they did diversion, because they are trying to prevent runoff from collecting into the TSF. In addition, landslides may also occur in the upslope portions located east of the TSF and may result in damming of the diverted channels. So this is one possibility also given the natural topography of the eastern side of the TSF. Now some of the embankment slopes in the downstream face of the downstream observed to be slightly exceed its design gradient. It is therefore recommended that a reassessment be made for determining the current downstream embankment gradient. The FRC should maintain an acceptable level of precision and accuracy as regards to the operation and use of its EWDs. It is recommended that continuous monitoring and calibration of the installed EWDs should be made in relation to the recent earthquake event, because the recent earthquake event at that given magnitude with that depth from the hypocenter can also be a source of calibration parameters. So the team suggests that FRC do the necessary calibration with respect to their EWDs. The ongoing civil works observed in the eastern side of the TSF could result to landslides due to slope modification and grading activities. Landslide deposits may dam the diverted drainage channels. Again, this is a possibility and could lead to runoff flow towards the TSF. It is therefore recommended that slope stabilization measures be made simultaneously with the conduct of civil and improvement works to mitigate the adverse effects of possible slope failures or landslides. Now, for the recommendations, absence of surface cracks, bulges, and other signs of deformation in the TSF dam should not be considered as direct and sole indicator of safety and structural stability. Hence, a detailed geotech investigation should be carried out in the soonest possible time. The geotech investigation should be undertaken by a reputable third-party surveying and engineering consultant to further assess the structural stability and integrity of the TSM dams in relation to the recent earthquake event. In addition, the scope of assessment to be conducted by a third-party engineering consultant should also include the other vital infra located within the MGP site. So that would be all, Your Honor. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Any reaction from the report of the inspecting team? Governor?
agree that according to the P-box, that there is a possibility that there will be an 8.6 magnitude earthquake in municipality of Balurong, based on record. And according to your director of MGB, said that this structure can only sustain, correct me if I'm wrong, up to 7 magnitude. So, paano yan kung halimbawa mag-earthquake? Halimbawa ngayon, mag-earthquake. Tapos, umabot kay we cannot determine ng 7 magnitude. You know, in our engineering, there is what we call fatigue. Kahit anong tibay niyan, pag lumabas sa maximum na nila, ibigay yan. That is what we call fatigue. So, dapat,
Hello. I agree with you that there is a possibility of having an earthquake of that magnitude. But as to where it will happen, I think that is something that is largely debatable. And knowing the annual incidence probabilities, if we compare the historical occurrence of seismic activities for the whole province of Masbate, there are a lot of things to consider first before we can come up with more or less reliable prediction.
it is a matter of prediction only.
Yes, sir.
Remember that we have the longest and the most active fault lines in the entire country. Batangas, Masbate, Leyte, Surigao. Saka paano yan? Kung may lateral movement and there is a dormant, may iba pa. Sa isang island pa. So, yun na. We cannot determine that. And very interesting as far as Director Molina said a while ago that based on geophysical study, that there's a need for, the company said that there's a need for the extensions of tailings pond. I'd like to ask Ryan, because Ryan is here. Is there fresh in your memory, Engineer Ryan, that there is a first rerouting of national road in that area? First rerouting. So, good that you have informed the provincial government, and there is a consultations, and my wife is the former governor of Minister. Am I correct to say that? So, what is the very purpose of first rerouting? What is the purpose of first rerouting? Is to extend the base and to increase the height